there's peaks and there's troughs. You've got to ride the wave.
What kind of expectations you put on yourself as a boss, not so much expectations on the team?
People in your team will they'll show you really quickly what their work ethic is like and what their appetite for showing up and being committed is like.
Do you find it hard to go into that strong boss mode when you need to? On this week's episode of our podcast, we have Alyce from Hive Media. Now, I met Alyce around about 2 years ago through the Penrith Valley Chamber of Commerce at a networking event. And ever since then, I was super inspired by what she did, but also really got to know her as a person. And she has an amazing business. Her business is a social media agency. They create user-generated content for their clients, as well as, Facebook ads and Google ads. And she's really an amazing business owner, has a great team. And in this episode of the podcast, we're going to dive into, how she started her business, how she works with her team, and how she is a boss to them, and a little bit about what motivates her. So hope you enjoy this episode. Well, Alyce, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having
on the podcast.
Thanks.
I really wanted to make this podcast to, get to understand business owners a lot more. For myself to kind of learn from others as well, but a bit of a conversation between two business owners, the struggles, the ups and downs of being a business owner.
Yeah.
And, we've known each other for quite a while now, and we do share a level here in our little offices here.
The best level.
And absolutely level 3 at the address. Oh, it's fine. It's on Google. And we're also a bit of a creative hub up here too.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. But what I want to talk to you about is quite a lot, actually.
Oh.
So first of all, I want to talk about a bit of an introduction to you. So tell the audience a little bit about you, what you do.
Okay. I hate that because I feel like I'm so boring. This is why I was like,
It's okay.
give me an agenda, because I really don't feel like I have all that much of an interesting background. But I am the director of Hive Media Group. So we're a boutique digital marketing agency here in Penrith.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am. And I started Hive because I knew that there was a huge opportunity to create something out here that was tailored towards smaller business clients that needed help with their digital marketing. And I was doing it. My background is sales. I've always been in media. I've been in media for over a decade now. I started out at ACP magazines in advertising sales.
Yep.
So that was really big agencies, big accounts. We worked across Harper's Bazaar, Gourmet Traveller, Australian Women's Weekly, like really big brands. And then I moved on to Triple M after that. I worked in radio nationally.
How was getting up early?
So good. I loved it. Radio is and to this day is the best thing I ever did. Like, it is the hardest, most grueling, but the most rewarding job. And it was great. We used to sit on the same level as the grill team. So we would share an elevator with them. Like, the boys would come in and say hello. They were just really, really lovely, really great to work with. And then I quickly found out through that the clients that I was working with were sort of more boutique agencies, sort of mid-sized, not massive like $1 million budgets, but sort of actually no, they probably were $1 million budgets, whereas before they were like multi. And then after that, we started to go into more of the small business space, and I really liked that because you actually ended up speaking with the decision maker. You weren't speaking with the marketing manager. You weren't speaking with the marketing team. You were speaking with the person that you knew you were going to impact.
Yeah.
And that, I loved that. And the influence that you had on their business and the change that you could make for their business was monumental, because to them it meant that they could open up another location or that they could pay for a big European holiday for their family, versus when you work for the big guys, you didn't have that same level of, I guess, appreciation. Like, it was a totally different, that was their budget that they had to spend. They spent it and then they moved on. So I really
It's not as impactful when it's like a bigger kind of
not at all
business.
And they're not connected to it either because they're essentially employed by the company, and 9 times out of 10 you'd work on a massive campaign with one marketing manager and then they'd move on and then you'd be introduced to the next one. It was sort of a bit of a churn.
Yeah.
But working
conveyor belt kind of system.
Definitely. But when you were working with sort of small to medium business, you definitely had your finger on the pulse more because you were impacting at a totally different level. So I really loved that. But I knew I had experience in print, I had experience at digital at that point, and then I'd brought in radio and podcasting. But all of my clients kept talking about Google and Facebook, and I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And that really challenged me in a way that I was like, I need to find out everything that I can about this because it was a big gap in my knowledge base. So I went and worked for a global digital marketing agency. I did that for around a year, and I quickly sort of absorbed everything that I had to. And that was really interesting for me because I think that was the first time that I'd worked in an organisation and I didn't enjoy my job. Before that, I love what I do, and I absolutely love what I do. And my background is sales. I sell. That's what I do for a living. But that agency, I just hated it. I would the alarm would go off and I would not want to get out of bed and go to work.
I'm sick.
Yeah, it was just such a challenge. And there was really nothing wrong with the people there. It was just the processes. Everything just took so long to happen. And you
felt like an impact you could do just took forever, and the reward for that just was
next to nothing. It was just everything was US based. So everything had to go through sort of the massive chain of command. And then by the time you could get a campaign live, we were getting campaigns live in over a week. Whereas now we can get campaigns live in a couple of days. And it's just there were so many levels above you that it was really, really hard to have anyone sort of listen to your feedback and how to make things better. And I'd come from big organisations that did things really, really well. And I don't think I appreciated that as much until I got into one that I was like, oh, no, this is so backwards. But I think that also prompted me to start my own thing because I thought to myself, wow, this is actually teaching me all of the things that I won't do. I will never have that system operate that way, or I would never have that as a KPI for our team. It's sort of in a backward way. It taught me a lot of great lessons. So I left.
Started listing things that you would do differently.
Exactly.
It kind of reminds me of that little funny TikToker right now that's like what girls don't like about guys, and he's writes a list. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's like this list dude, and it'll be like silly things like they chew too loud. Yeah. And he'll start listing that. Distracted, but kind of that concept.
Totally.
You start listing those things that you would do differently or you would like to change for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I don't regret that because I think if I had have stayed there and I had have been really happy, then I probably wouldn't have started Hive. So Hive started off the back of COVID, which is such a backwards way of thinking. Everyone's like, oh, why would you start a business during COVID? It's economic crisis. But I just had a really good gut feeling.
Yep.
And I've always operated that way. I find that if my intuition is telling me that this is right, then I'll go that way. And if I don't, I quickly find out why I should have. So, end of 2020, I started the business and then never looked back, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a baby then, I guess.
Still a baby. So much to learn. I still think that now, even when you were saying to me, advice about business, I think I'm still so new to it, but I think in the 4 years that we've been around, I've learnt so much. I don't know if you're the same.
Oh, 100%. Whether it be one-on-one conversations with businesses just off camera we've had in the past or I've had with other people, and you go, oh, really? That's a good way to looking at it. Or something like the chamber and those collective groups that we go to where we kind of feed off each other. There's constant learning,
absolutely
every day.
But I love the learning. I really enjoy learning about how to operate a business and how to be better with people, how to be better with clients. Like, I don't think you could ever like rest on your laurels in business, because there's always an opportunity to continue to push the benchmark even higher.
Do you ever get overwhelmed with learning though? For like, I say that because I do. Like, I get overwhelmed sometimes with, oh, I should be doing this, or this person does it like this. And sometimes I'll get into a funk where I'm just like, I can't take any more information in.
Yeah.
Like, I need to first maybe offload that or sit with that for a little bit. But other people are throwing books down your throats and all the other stuff. Like, that's just me. Do you ever feel that way?
I do. I think everyone has their own pace at which they thrive. And for me, if it gets too much, then I know I've got to look at reprioritizing what I'm trying to learn and what is the most important thing for me to know right now. And let's just focus on that and just pause that for a minute and come back to it. Because I think if you're trying to upskill and you're trying to run a business, do your invoices, run a team, like, how many locations are you at every week? Like, it's a lot. So
3 today.
I think it's doing it in, palatable, bite-sized chunks in a way that is going to benefit you and your time.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get started.
Kind of like this kind of conversation about learning, because we are so young in our businesses and we are, quote, young in our lives as well. So how do you like to learn?
Yeah.
Like, for me, I think there's 3 types of learners. There might be more. Yet again, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but there's people that learn by doing. There's people that learn by reading. There's people that learn by just like repetition, or like, I'm definitely a person that learns by doing. And that comes from my background of performing arts and learning choreography and things like that. How is it something that, how do you like to learn? And this can be anything. It doesn't have to be like business, but
I'm a doing person as well, but in terms of how I best absorb information visually, so I like to, if I can see things by way of a video, or often if I'm sitting down with my accountant and I can't understand a concept, I'll tell them to draw it because I need to see it.
Oh, I think if you're not good at maths, accounting is always one of those things.
Totally.
Like I always say to my accountant, it goes over my head. Can you say it again? Like, maybe dumb it down a little bit for me.
Yes, 100%. But if they can draw a diagram for me and I can see it, then I feel like I can absorb it better. But often...
So more of a visual learner, do you think?
Way more of a visual learner. And then obviously doing. Like, for me... being able to imitate or replicate someone doing something, and then I can get in and do it myself. I pick things up really quickly if I'm doing it in that way. But often I'm big on podcasts. Like, I love listening to business podcasts. I love listening to audiobooks. I'll read a lot of business books as well at night. But I find when I'm listening, I absorb really well. Yeah.
So where do you like to listen to a podcast? Like, I generally just in the car for me, which sometimes I think is not a good thing, because like, you're not really fully absorbing.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like for example, if it's like a novel, like I just read the new Hunger Games that I listened.
Yes.
In the car. That was easy.
Yeah.
Whereas anytime I put on like a business podcast, like, I feel like I miss a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know, because I like focus on where I'm driving, or like I just get distracted. So where do you like to listen to your podcast?
When I work, I'll have my AirPods in, and
you're lucky to do that.
I'll be working
I can't do that.
and listening, and that's at night when business is closed. Because the phone's not ringing.
Ever closed?
Never. But the phone's not ringing, like Slack's not going off, emails aren't going off. And that's really, I get so much done between, 5 and 7 at night than I do throughout my whole day.
I was about to say morning.
Yeah. Morning sometimes if I'm up, and I'm really trying this year. Like, this year is my goal to just make sure that I'm getting up early and getting a good start to the day, because I feel so much better. I'm a big believer in like, win the morning, win the day. I know that's not always the case for people, and it's not always achievable either.
And like, you got to try, like, I read, there was a book, I forget what it's called, something, The Morning Routine or something like that, where it's about the morning being the most productive for you, where you have an hour of your own time. It doesn't necessarily have to be like business. Like, people talk about morning journaling and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a morning person.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
super tried. I've tried so hard. But yet again, I also have a hectic life at home
Totally.
with
You've got
three
kids
children.
at home.
Three
Absolutely.
children. So
Totally.
morning.
And I think you're so right. Like, I think there's this big, it's really glamorized getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going and training for an hour and eating healthy and then journaling.
The Wahlberg routine of gym.
That's actually not realistic for a lot of people.
No.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Like, for you to know that that's not your jam and being more productive at night or in the evening is there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I feel like there is always this pressure from what
100%.
we're like consuming.
Are you not waking up and doing this?
Totally. If you're not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, then you're not successful.
And you're not a good business person.
Exactly. And it's just like, come on. That's not true. That is not true. And so many, successful people have come out and sort of dispelled that myth. But I think you just got to find what works well for you and just keep going with that.
And look, it is an evolution, right?
Absolutely.
Like things change in life, like you're moving home right now too.
Yeah.
So that throws in a spanner of work of doing that stuff. You're going back and forth between your home office, your physical office here and out on site for your clients and things like that. So like routines, I think are simpler for certain businesses that don't travel or as much as like say we do, like not taking it for, granted, if you're in an office, like it's a lot simpler to form like a simpler routine.
Oh, goodness.
Whereas like for me, like it's really hard, as you said earlier, like I could be out on site multiple times a day. Yeah. So where's that routine of like eating right the right time or doing those things? So it's you have to kind of find your own way. Yeah. And one thing that I'm trying to really kind of think about this year and moving forward is, what do I want out of my businesses for myself in the next year to two?
Yeah.
Where do I want to sit in the grand scheme of that? And I think now's the time for me to start thinking about that. Yeah. Now you're still young in this business of yours, but I feel like you're already doing that yourself. I think you're way ahead of me in that regards about where you want to be.
I think it changes so much too, though, and it has evolved from when I first started to now. What I want is so different, and I think what I value is so different as well. So, obviously, when you own your own business, you're non-stop, and it doesn't stop. But I've also been gifted flexibility, which I've never had flexibility in any of my corporate jobs. So, the fact that I have
working for someone else.
Totally. And if you didn't have leave, then no, you can't take the day or whatever the case may be. No, you need to stay back and finish X, Y, and Z.
I always joke that if I have to like not do something or be somewhere for my family or something like that, I'm always like, it's all right, the boss will be okay.
Got to ask the boss. Yeah.
That's my wife.
I love that. But yeah, I think for me, when I first started, it was sort of like world domination. Like I wanted to be huge and I wanted, hundreds of people and I wanted all these locations and I had this big vision. Whereas now I love the scale that we are. I love the size of the business owners that we're working with. I'd still love another location one day, but I really love the fact that I can work when I want and how I want. That is so valuable to me now. And I'd never thought that I would appreciate that as much as I do now.
Okay, so let's talk about, you've been working with all these other companies and you in COVID and you decide, boom, I'm going to make my own business.
Yeah.
Talk me through how you were at that time. Like what was the mental state that you're going to go through and what really kind of drove you to over the cliff to start doing this business?
Yeah. Oh, so many things now that I look back on it. So the first thing I did is I sat down with my partner, James, and I said to him just really openly, I said, I want to start a business. I'm probably not going to be able to afford anything for the next 6 months. Like you're going to have to cover the mortgage for us. You're going to have to cover the bills.
What a guy.
Yeah. Like
shout out to James.
And I was really lucky because he is also a business owner and he was in my corner. He was like, do it. You've been talking about it endlessly. Just bloody do it.
It's that Band-Aid thing. Just rip it off.
Absolutely. Just make it happen. So that was really nice that I had that support from a financial perspective, because when you do first start a business, generally speaking, you're not raking it in.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not. You do sort of scrape to make ends meet, but I was lucky enough that when I did start, I met some people that introduced me to people, and word just sort of got out. So I was actually able to start paying myself something after 3 months and start contributing back to the household, which was nice.
That's an achievement.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it wasn't a lot, but it was something.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. The benefit of starting a business like mine is that the outgoings are next to nothing. You need a laptop and that's pretty much it. There's no like...
What's that like? Because I
was looking at all your stuff now. I'm like, it's a little different. The cinema grade camera, yeah.
I just literally bought another program that I needed just then.
Yeah.
Notification just then.
It's a great industry to start because all you really need is a laptop and a phone and obviously the knowledge, but it didn't really cost me a lot to start. So I was able to make some inroads there. But I had James in my corner. I had my family in my corner.
That's great.
I told my family what I wanted to do. My dad was a little bit like, are you sure? Because you're giving up quite a big...
I know what you're feeling. Like my family, yes, very supportive, but also they worry so much about me. Like when I said to them, so I'm going to quit this job and go completely full-time in a business. Mind you, I've had this business now for coming up to 7 years.
Yeah.
They were like, really? Is that going to be right?
Yeah.
My dad was like, you'll be right. But
That's
everyone
great.
else was like,
Yeah.
everyone else was like,
are you sure? Yeah. And that dad's was a little bit like just sense checking how serious I was about it, I think, because I am a very ambitious person. I've always been work orientated, and I think I had always had very big dreams in corporate. For me to turn around and say, I want to start a business, he was like, hang on a second.
Yeah, so, that's a big turn.
Yeah, he did sort of sit me down and he was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I had in my head, I was like, no kids at the time, still no kids, not married, but we had a house.
You're newly engaged.
Newly engaged now. I didn't wear my engagement ring today. How bad is that? Sorry, James. So we had a mortgage that was manageable. So in terms of risk, I gave myself 12 months. I was like, I'm just going to give this a red hot crack. I'm going to work my ass off for 12 months. And if I don't feel like it's going anywhere and I've lost the fire for it, I'll just go back to corporate. Like it's really not the end of the world. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll go and find a job. I don't care what I have. If I don't go back to media, I'll go and work somewhere. I'll go make money somewhere else. So that was always my mentality. And I think sometimes if you bring it down, because everyone's like, it's such a big risk. And at the time, because I had no one else depending on me, I thought it's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Once I have kids, once all of that happens in our lives, I'm probably not going to be as free to make those decisions, right? Because it's not only just impacting myself and James, it's impacting them, probably a different kettle of fish. So
you met me when I was about to have my third.
Yes.
And then I was going full time, and then you were like, you can have my old office space.
Yeah.
Like even moving to an office space, like that's like every decision I've had to make because I have a family.
Absolutely.
So much more harder.
Definitely.
Whereas when you're doing it just you and James, like
less mouths to feed, like less pressure, I think, in that respect. So gave it 12 months and absolutely loved it. We continued to grow at a really strong pace. I didn't employ. I had someone that I contracted to the business at that point that I was working with, who I still have today. She's fantastic. And then I decided to grow the team. And as I started growing the team, I thought to myself, wow, like this is really going well. I'm going to stick to it and see where this goes. Yeah.
Now, you gave yourself 12 months. Was there a turning point in that 12 months that really made you go, okay, I've got a pretty viable, thriving business. Like I'm in it emotionally. And do you remember that moment?
I just don't think that ever changed. Okay. Like I think as soon as I started, that was my attitude. And I've always been in it. There are definitely times, and I'd be lying if I sat here and said there wasn't. There's definitely times where I think, fuck, this is really hard.
Yeah.
Like I could just go back to, being an employee and just not having to worry about any of this bullshit.
Yeah.
I do have those moments. Still today, I have those moments. But
there's those moments though that, like there's shit when you're there and you feel horrible and you feel like giving up everything. But then there are also those moments that moments of feeling crap propel you, I feel.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like the next day you might be on freaking cloud 9 and going, well, I felt shit yesterday, but I pushed through.
100%. It's so turbulent.
Yeah.
Like you'll have one day where you're just thinking to yourself, and I'm quite a spiritual person that I think that things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there had definitely been times where I've thought to myself, God, like, am I really doing the right thing? Like, is this really the path for me? And then the next day I'll get a phone call and it'll be a new client. Mm-hmm. Hey, I've been meaning to speak to you. Do you want to? It's like, it always just gets back on track for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I sort of think, okay, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be doing this. So I'm just going to continue to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've continued. And when I started, I obviously had the fire and, you just want to go and take over the world and it will eventually fizzle out. But then it'll be reignited.
Just had like the Hunger Games, like Katniss Everdeen fire outfit on you, like just propelling you forward down a hallway to
Can you Photoshop that on me for this?
I don't know.
Thanks.
We'll see what I can do.
Yeah, but like anything in life, right? There's peaks and there's troughs. You've got to ride the wave, and I've continued to ride the wave, and I'm really enjoying it. So until that fire's gone, and for a long period of time, I don't want to get up and do what I'm doing. That's when I think I'll turn around and think to myself, okay, but a lot of the time as well, when you have a team, and I don't know about you with obviously having David and your team, they fire me up. Because I'll jump online and the girls will have done like a really amazing piece of work and they'll share that with me. Or they'll have a great idea for Hive's social media account. Or they'll talk about a client that they saw and they say, Alyce, you should go out and see. Like that, I love that. That motivates me because I've got these amazing, talented women behind me who are also propelling me forward. So that for me is a big motivator also, having the team and wanting to lift them up as well.
Yeah. So starting as by yourself, and now you have how many team members do you have?
So there is 3 of us in-house and we do a fair bit of like contracting work, but our contractors have been with us for a really long time. So if I count them, we're talking around 7 altogether. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of the time with our stuff, there's some real like sort of specialist niche areas. And anyone who's any good at those tend to work for themselves. So we have relationships with a few contractors who will do our work and a few other like little agencies here and there, but they very much are part of our team and very, very tight-knit at that stage too.
So tell me, I'm obviously getting into a stage where I'm wanting to build my team up as well. Like, yes, I have David and I've got contractors and stuff like that too. But from our conversations off camera, you're really big on building that relationship with your team members, but also like managing them as a boss.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm too soft. And I'm an emotional person.
So am I. Yeah.
So can you, I guess, talk to me about how you like to manage a team and what kind of expectations you put on yourself as a boss, not so much expectation on the team.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm still learning this. So I don't want to speak like I'm the expert because I'm certainly not. I've made some great hiring decisions and I've made some bloody terrible ones as well. But you learn really quickly with those. I think for me, what I have learned is the people in your team will really, they'll show you really quickly what their work ethic is like and what their appetite for showing up and being committed is like. Yep. And it's those ones that I will just shower with like love, attention, gifts, whatever you want, because they are gold to me.
But is there too much of that can get them complacent?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. I think for me, all of our work is so performance driven.
Right.
So, when I can see that a client's account has increased by X amount, or when I can see that I had Jess, who's our digital content creator, on Friday. So Jess works half days on Friday, and we have just been absolutely inundated with work this year. And she asked me if she could work the rest of the day so she could finish off her projects. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, in what world does someone ask their boss if they can continue to work so they can finish off a that does not exist. Yeah. So I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful for her. So I will always make sure that when I'm speaking to them that I'm giving feedback and praise. I think that's such a big missing piece for a lot of people. Like when I say shower, I'm not talking about I send them, like flowers every day, but even just gratitude. Just thank you so much. And I said to her, I said, I'm so grateful for you. Like you are fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I try to do that with David, who's our junior editor. When we get great feedback from the client, like this is great, I show him that feedback. I go, look here, the client has loved it. Yeah. Because then I see it light up on his face. Oh, great, awesome, cool. Totally. And that motivates him to push himself forward. Yeah. And then also brings me confidence that I can give him more tasks because, in a year to 2 years' time, I don't want to be editing a single thing. Yeah. So I want to be able to feel confident that I have a team that can do that stuff without me having to go in there and nitpick it to the nth degree. Yeah. And I think sometimes when you've got a team, you want to make sure that that your dialogue is balanced, because a lot of the time I'm asking them for things. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you follow up here? Yeah. Where's this at? Blah, 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 blah. Like there's that side of it, which you have to do as you're managing a team. But you need to balance it out with, thank you so much for getting that done. Yeah. That's so fantastic. Well done. Client's so happy. This and that. You need to have that balance. But to your point, there has to be that line where it is love and respect, but it's also, it is respect. And it's not something that your team can feel like they can exploit for their own benefit. Yeah. And for me, like working in our team. You hear some horror stories though about, awful, but you earn your stripes. And my girls have earned their stripes. Like they are able to pretty much do what they need to do because they have my trust. Yeah. And I think that's really, when I look back and reflect on it now, that was sort of the distinguishing factor with the ones that weren't a great fit for our business, is that the trust just wasn't there. Yeah. What's that Gary Vee saying? Hire slow, fire fast. So true. Has that been your experience? Oh, God, yeah. There's definitely been some that I've held on to for way too long in the beginning because I was too nice. Like I wanted to be everyone's friend. Or you also felt like you'd be stuck without them? Yeah, not for me as much, no. Because I'm a bit like, I'll work 24 hours a day instead. Do you know what I mean? And get it done properly. That's probably to my own detriment. But I think for me, I was boundaries, Alyce. Yeah, I know. Have a line, but for me, it was, trying to be too nice and let's give them another chance and there are definitely circumstances where that would be the case, but I think you quickly know who's going to be the right fit for your business and who's not, and the longer you let that ride out, the more expensive it becomes. Like it can really hurt you financially. Do you find it hard to switch into, like, I'm not going to say dictator because that's not the right word, but do you find it hard to go into that like strong boss mode when you need to, or do you find it easy? I think it depends on the person, to be honest. That you're dealing with? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think with my team now, no, I find that quite easy because we have such a great relationship. If I need something or something's not being done, I know that I can communicate with them quite openly and that they won't be upset with what I'm saying because they know me so well. Like they know why I'm asking what I'm asking and where we need to get to.
In the past, I have found that quite hard depending on the person that I'm speaking to. But I think the more you sort of force yourself to do it, and the more you understand how to communicate with each person, because everyone, I think, might have a different way of communicating with you.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And just, I guess, tailoring that in the right way, you'll get a better result.
Yeah.
And you also know yourself, like, if you've been managed before, that, you know, there's been that manager.
I was gonna
Everyone's
say,
had.
you come from that real corporate background.
Totally.
So you would have experienced a whole plethora of ways of being dealt with
Yes.
by a chain of command.
Yes. And I've been quite lucky because I reckon quite easily 90% of my managers have been phenomenal. Like I could not be more grateful for the leadership that I have had, but with the leaders that have been a little bit hairy.
We go back to that list, like we said at the beginning. Don't do this, won't do that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where the appreciation and the gratitude, why that's so big for me, is because I valued that so much from the fantastic managers that I had, because they delivered that to me. And that really fired me up. Like, oh, I feel so appreciated. I'm going to go work harder. You know what I mean? Like
100%. I've always said, like, I guess I never really envisioned myself as a boss or owning a business or anything like that. I envisioned myself on Broadway, for gosh sake. That didn't happen.
It still might. You never know.
Maybe one of those theatre parents of me, maybe through my children. But like, I never imagined what it would be to be able to be that boss person. Like, it was really hard for me. It's really hard for me sometimes to really switch into that boss mode.
Yeah. Is it because you fear that you might hurt someone's feelings?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
100%. I'm such a sensitive person.
Yeah.
And I guess, insert childhood trauma of bullying equals me not wanting to upset others, because I was so upset, hurt and upset growing up, right?
Yeah.
Not by my family. They were amazing. So, like, I never want to be that person that makes someone feel shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know now, and I'm learning that there is times where you've got to be strict to a point where, like, they understand that this is important, because at the end of the day, they are working for you. So the thing that they're doing is not as important as it is to you.
Yeah, completely.
Right?
Yeah.
Our business is our baby. You might not have any physical children, but this is your baby.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anything that happens is a chain reaction, and you just feel horrible. If one of your clients is upset, you've got to take that on yourself. You can't put that blame, oh, it was this person, they've done this in my business. Have you ever had that experience where a client has been really disappointed with something, and even though you didn't touch that, that was someone else's responsibility?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Gosh, I've been dealing with that my whole life. I think my background being account management and sales, you deal with that all the time. And even when I was back at Triple M, we had these fantastic sales coordinators that would do all of the implementing for us, right? So we'd sell the campaigns, I'd chuck it to my sales coordinator, she'd book everything, get everything done. They were fantastic. But on the odd occasion, they may book something outside of a time slot that client has asked for. And the client will get on the phone to me and fire up and whatever. And I would never, ever, ever say to that client, you know, it was Susan. You know, you just man up and you're like, I apologize, it shouldn't have happened. And I think in that circumstance, rather than proportioning blame, you need to be solutions focused. So forget about who did it. This is obviously with the client. Forget about who did it. But what's going to make the situation better, and how can I best approach that?
Yep.
And then in the background, it would be sitting down and flagging, hey, Susan, you know, this time slot fell out of place. Can you explain to me how that happened? And can you also check to make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
And what types of things can we do to ensure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
So rather than, for me, it's not like you fucked up, you did wrong. It's like, how can we make sure we're a team?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that this can't happen again?
Because at the end of the day, the client is not hiring the person, they're hiring you in Hive.
Exactly.
So you've got to go ahead and say, we stuffed up, But, and this is the key, they just want to know what you do to rectify it and fix that. So come up with that solution straight away. And then behind the scenes, you're like, Susan.
Yes. What's happened now? But yeah, I think owning it is such a big point, because if you don't own it and you try and proportion blame, it makes you look like shit. Your client hasn't hired your team. As you said, they've bought you and they've bought me. That's what they're buying into. So for me I'm really sorry that that's happened. And I think apologizing is key. Like, I'm big on, I'm really sorry, that shouldn't have happened. But, this is what we'll give you, as a make good is what we would call it. And then hopefully you have those conversations to make sure the mistake doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Mistakes will happen. It's business. It's life. They're going to happen. And there's only so much you can try and do as you're owning your business to try and avoid them. Like, I can't physically go through every single one of our plans to check. Yep. I physically can't do that anymore. So
no, absolutely.
There's like a level of trust that you've got to give and feedback that you've got to give to make sure that. I
know what you're saying, because like the amount of quantity of videos that we're putting out now, like for me, if I was doing it by myself, I could not do that. Just couldn't. So now with, doing everything in the business, still filming, still marketing, still all that stuff. Yeah. There's times where little videos that I deem as maybe really simple, I can't always look over them.
Of course.
So if there's a simple text mistake, like, I can't physically sit down and watch every single video.
Totally.
I would love to. I just don't have that
too.
time.
Absolutely.
And one fear I have is like, I'm about to go away in April and for a month or so, and like that fear of like, okay, in that period of time, like, how am I going to be managing the team and putting those kind of strategies in place? That freaks me out a bit.
Yeah, but isn't that such a great position to be in, that you can, you know what I mean? Like, you actually can go on holidays and trial the team out operating without you to a point.
It's so scary.
Terrifying, but I think what an amazing position to be in.
Yeah.
That's progress, and that's where we all want to be. We all want to be, at a point where we're running our businesses and we can step out and we can go and enjoy a week with our family and not have to be on call all the bloody time.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's why we do what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be a slave to it for the rest of your life.
Honestly, like, I couldn't work for someone else. Like, I know your plan B was to go back to corporate. I don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Like, this for me, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to make it work, because, if I was to get a job in the film industry, that's me going into the city almost, every day and not seeing my family until the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that type of dad.
Yeah.
Nor could I physically do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is why there is no plan B for me.
That's great, though.
Which is kind of like reason why I wanted to start doing this podcast, is really just kind of talk to people and see what they're doing, and really kind of just like word vomiting.
Yeah. Well, we learn so much from each other. That's the thing, because we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to do the same thing. And as I said, I'd never stand up and be like, I'm the expert and I know everything. You're always learning. But it's great to have these conversations because we learn off of each other,
So what motivates you? And this doesn't have to be business related. Like, just what motivates Alyce?
My family. Yeah, I really want to do my family proud. So I came from, like my parents really didn't come from much at all. They grew up, or my dad especially grew up with nothing. And he has inspired me to be who I am from like a work perspective. And he started sweeping floors at a Toyota dealership and ended up owning a few. Like, he is
what a story there.
He is literally.
We get your dad in?
Oh my God, amazing. He's literally like from the bottom, very, very bottom, dropped out of school when he was in his teen years, never had a proper education. He's now like one of the smartest people I know, great business acumen, knows everything about finance. And he worked incredibly hard to give me opportunities that he never had. And additionally, my mum, and I think, this is really important because I think the stay-at-home mums don't get the accolade that they should, because my mum gave up a lot to be there for me and to raise me. She was always there to pick me up from school. Yeah. She was always there if I was sick, if I needed anything. She gave up everything for me. And her full-time job was being a mum, and that never stops, obviously. Yeah. So I had really great parents. I'm an only child, so we're very, very close. And I do this because I want to make them proud. Yeah. I want to be successful. For me isn't balling. Like, I don't give a shit about driving really fancy cars or like buying designer. That doesn't motivate me.
I just don't know why I just had like a zooped up
You're going to say a Subaru Impreza because I'm half Lebanese.
You said it on me. It was a license plate is like something social or like.
Maybe one day. No, that kind of stuff doesn't. But family does. Like, I love having people over. I love cooking for people. I love having a nice space to entertain people. I love to like nurture. And that motivates me. So knowing that, what I do gives me the money and the time and the ability to do that and to make my parents proud, that's what makes me get up every day and do what I do. That's the core, I would say. There's lots of offshoots, but that would be the core.
I love that. And also, like, backtracking to what we said earlier, your parents were worried that you went into this.
Yeah.
Now you're 2-3 years into it.
Yeah.
What's their thoughts now? Like, was there a moment where they turn around and was like, "You done good, kid," or like, do you remember anything?
They're very proud. They're very, very proud. I think, it's interesting with parents because I've got one that's like showers me with like, "You're doing fantastic." Mum, yeah. Dad's a little bit harder to crack. He has on occasion said like, "You're doing really well," and this and that. But I think that his measure is more my happiness than anything that the business will be doing. Yeah. So we've just recently moved house, which was such a huge goal for James and I. And James is the hardest working person I've ever met. He's insane. And I think for him to see that we've achieved that together has made him turn around and say, I'm really proud and I'm really happy for you both that you've been able to achieve this. And that to me, that's amazing. That's for me to hear that, just like solidifies all the hard work that we've both been doing.
How does it make you feel?
Like so over the moon. I think for me, I've got to catch myself because I achieve one thing and then I'm like, cool, what's next? Yeah. Like I'm always, what's next?
Yeah.
But
do you feel like you're chasing sometimes though?
Yeah, totally. Because I need to sit back and say, hang on a second, you've just ticked that off. Yeah. Like this has been such a big goal for you. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment and lap it up for a bit before you go looking for the next,
Oh, 100%.
I've got to stop that.
Yeah, I feel you. I can't sometimes feel like I'm on the train tracks, the train's ahead of me, and I'm on one of those push things. Yeah. Things. I'm trying to catch up to that train. I'm like, come on. Every so often it's so there because when it gets at the station, it stops, and then I'm like almost there, and then that's sometimes how I feel.
Totally. And it's good because I think if we weren't chasers, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, right? Like you've got to be willing to work hard and to love the thrill of the chase. But I think it's also really important to have gratitude for yourself as well and to think, fuck, like we've built this in 7 years, in 4, in however many years on our own and look like we can turn the bloody lights on every day. Like we can pay the electricity bill. Like even those little things, like we have the ability to get up every morning in our homes with our families. Yeah. Like that should be appreciated.
What does passion look like for you? Like you talked about earlier that if you weren't passionate about it anymore, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Passion for me is almost like a bit of an obsession, right? Like I'm obsessed with Hive. Like I'm obsessed with how we can grow, how we can better our processes, how we can develop our team, how we can better service our clients. Like that, I get like a fire in my belly and I start to think about it and I start to talk about it, then I start to plan things and all the rest. Like having conversations with our team and with our clients, that for me is passion, because I get like the heart starts to beat a little bit quicker and the fire starts in the belly. And then I think like, cool, like your mind goes crazy. That to me is passion. Like it's that little fire inside you that you can feel when you start to talk about something that you're passionate about or something that, that you want to see progress. And that's how I feel about my business.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as that, if there's ever a moment where that dies down and that doesn't excite me, then I think I've got to go back to my, why did you start? And where has that sort of fallen off,
What a queen bee you are.
Oh, look what you did there.
Remember dad
yes.
joke.
Oh, yeah. You've just nailed it.
Like, so obviously you have a very supportive family, your mum and dad. What do you think is important as a business owner needs to have a support network?
Yeah, absolutely. And the key for this is you may not find it in your family, but don't let that deter you.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, not everyone is blessed to have a family or a group of friends that are going to support everything that they do. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go and do it.
Yeah.
Go and find the network is my advice. Just because your friends or your family or your partner, for example, I think that would be really challenging. If they're not supporting what you do, but you've got the fire and you want to give it a crack, there are so many places you can go to find support, particularly in business. Like you think about the Chamber, for example.
100%.
There's heaps of different networking groups in Penrith.
But it takes some time to find the right one too.
Absolutely.
Just networking groups in general.
Yes, definitely. But also, I'm really lucky in my industry because I'm surrounded by a lot of other agency owners who support me.
I was going to ask, like, one of my biggest supporters is my best mate, who also does the exact same thing as I.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah, he primarily a photographer, but has over the last years dabbled a lot more into video and a bit reverse than me. I'm more of a video person, and we do dabble in photos.
Yeah.
But we're in the same industry. Sometimes we've had crossovers of the same or similar clients.
Yeah.
We work in the same area. We worked with him this morning, actually. He was my photographer for this morning's gig. And I've had people say to me sometimes, like, why you like talk to him all the time? Like, aren't you in competition? And I go, like, maybe, but at the end of the day, like, he understands things that others don't.
Yeah.
Like, I love my wife and she's a supporter 100%, and she's, part business owner in this business as well, but just doesn't get what we do as much as others do. And he really understands what I do. And like, if I want to call someone up because I want to complain about something's happened, he's the first person I'll call.
That's so nice that you have that.
So do you find that similar? Like, you might have people in the same industry?
Absolutely. I had one of the first, I guess, mentors that I had even when I was thinking about starting Hive is Simon from Orbit Marketing. And Simon runs a very successful marketing agency out here. He's moved up to Foster now, but he still does business out here. And he was really big up in the mountains. And I met him at a networking event. And I went up and I introduced myself to him and I said, I would love to take you for a coffee because I would love some advice. And he was kind enough to have many coffees with me. And he said to me, you've got to do this. Like, I was telling him about our backgrounds are very, very similar, actually. He came from press sales and he started Orbit, and Orbit's a very, very successful agency. But he gave me advice, he gave me tips and tools, and we still to this day will chat. And never once was there any fear of competition. I refer clients to him and vice versa when we need to. And I'm so grateful for that relationship that I had with him because he was a very, very big reason to why I started. And still now, like, I think that shows a really strong leader. Because leaders don't look behind, they look in front. They don't look around, there's no peripheral, they're just looking forward. So I think those people that are caught up on competition, and there's so many out there, like, you know, have you seen so-and-so's doing this? And have you seen, like, no, I haven't. And if I have, I've looked at it and I've thought that's fantastic. But I'm so focused on doing the best thing for our business and our clients and my team that I'm not caught up in competition. And there's so much business around. There's plenty to go around. So I think, you know, being worried about that or being caught up in that, to me, like, there's much better things to do with my time.
Yeah. You know, sitting here talking to you, it just kind of, we met, 2 years ago. I saw you at a chamber event at the log cabin.
You did.
And I went up and I was like, let's have a chat.
You did, yeah.
And if I look back at us then to where we are now, like I'm super proud of both of us.
Yeah.
I think how you've grown your business is just, it inspires me a little bit.
Thanks.
And seeing you build your team and seeing how successful you've made your campaigns for your clients.
Yeah.
I always check in on your stuff, even though we don't see each other as much.
Yeah.
Even though we have offices right across. This is the second time we've seen this year, and once was only like for 15, 30 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
You know, so I'm like, you got to look at where we've come in the period of time.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yes, I've had my business for 7 years, but I've really only had this element and this part of the business for 3.
Yeah.
Very similar age to yours.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the wedding game first, and now I don't do them at all. You know what I mean? So very different markets, very different kind of learnings. So I guess when you look at your business right now, what are you most proud of?
My team. Yeah, for sure, my team. I think the people that we have and seeing them grow both personally and professionally, that completely lights me up. Like, that just, I'm so proud of them. And, you know, the challenges that I've thrown their way, and I throw plenty at them. Like, there's plenty of times where they've been like, hang on a sec. But the growth that I've seen from my girls it's just incredible. And I'm so, so proud of them, and seeing how I learn from them, like how much they've grown and progressed. I learn from that, and that motivates me. So I think my team would be the one thing that I'm most proud of.
Right.
What about you?
Most proud of? I guess for me, like, I'm not going to say team because, yes, that's one element. I think for me, it's understanding that I'm more than just a guy with a camera. And I think that is one of the hardest thing. It took me a while to really understand. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of videographers or, you know, video guy, is like they're only good at just potentially hitting record. And for me, I've had to learn a lot of skills outside of just hitting record. Yeah. Yes, I have to learn a lot of skills still hitting record. So I think for me, it's like becoming a business owner and being what I like to say, you know, a video producer, and really understanding how I can help people. I think that is the thing I'm probably most proud of.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you. So we've come to the time with some rapid fire questions.
Oh, I thought you were going to say rapper then, as in like, we're going to
rap
rap something.
You want to rap something?
No, I'm okay.
Do you want me to give you a beat?
Maybe a present.
I'll get James.
I did
to
a
get
dad
James
joke then.
present. She wants a present, James. Preferably white and blue. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. These are sometimes a little bit silly.
Should I have a glass of water?
If you want to, go ahead.
I'm really terrified because my brain works very strangely. Go on.
Rapid fire questions.
Yeah,
Here we go. Favorite movie?
White Chicks.
Oh.
Don't know why that
now
just came
I just
to
feel
mind.
like singing a song, but due to copyright, we won't sing this song. But yeah, you know it. White Chicks.
That was terrible. Can I go again? No, don't.
No.
We're going to stay with it.
White Chicks.
Go
Why
on.
not? Excellent. All right. Favorite artist?
As in music artist?
Yes.
Ooh, Adele probably at the moment.
Adele. Would you travel to Vegas just to go see her residency for one night and then come back?
Absolutely. Yeah.
James, get it.
Yeah, maybe for a week. Can we go for a week?
Is she still doing her residency?
I don't know.
I think she finished it.
Apparently she's fantastic live. I've never seen her fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never seen her live, but apparently she's unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
So talented.
Yeah. All right. Hidden talent. Do you have a hidden talent? Come on. You have to have something.
I'm double jointed. Is that?
Done. Double jointed. Ding, ding.
There we go.
What?
It's really sad.
It's fun. singing the song from White Chicks. That's it. Hidden talent. What businesses inspire you?
Ooh, a lot of the female-led businesses that we are working with at the moment, and it's so funny. As soon as you said that, the first one that came to my mind is Alara, which is we both work on Alara. But that Rachel, for example, has come to mind because she's just an absolute powerhouse. And seeing her business grow the way that it has is very, very inspiring. So that's the first one that came to mind. So I'm going to...
She's the train we're trying to catch.
She is. Absolutely. She's the bullet train.
Was that train from Paris to the UK?
Yeah,
That one.
that's her.
All right. Top 3 tips in life or business?
Follow your intuition. Don't take yourself too seriously. And never make the same mistake twice.
I like that last one. It reminds me of a quick story. My first ever job I ever did when I was Pixflix Productions was a wedding. And I hit record on the recorder for the groom, put it in his jacket, like, sweet, great audio. Got it wet after the wedding ceremony, went up to him. I realized I didn't put the hold switch on the recorder. So then when he put it back in, he tapped the record button. So he didn't have the greatest audio.
Oh, no.
But I always learnt to always put
Never
the
do that
hold
again.
button.
Hold button.
What's one thing you did?
You should get a t-shirt. Hold a button.
That'll be our next shirt.
Adam, I make mistakes every day. I'm just trying to think of one example. So I went out to do some filming not that long ago. This is social media filming, nowhere near as on Adam's level. This is like really raw
You
stuff.
just see, guys. It's important.
Yeah. And I took my bag, the newer brand bag.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all the gear. And then I unzipped
The lights
it.
that I recommended to you?
The lights you recommended to me. Got the stand out, put the stand up. There's no lights in my bag.
Were they here?
I left them at the office. So do a bloody checklist and check your bag, Alyce, before you go to a shoot.
Checklist.
It's just got these stands. No lights. Well done.
I've done something similar with gear as well. So
Cool.
There you go. If you could do anything else, what would it be?
Teach. Yeah.
Anything particular?
I really love systems and software. So I'd love to, and I maybe will one day, I'd love to travel and show businesses or uni kids how to use systems and software. Random, but I really enjoy training and teaching people. Random. Can I ask you these questions when we're done?
Fine, go. Ask me.
What would yours be?
My favourite movie, I have several, but I guess if I think of anything that's nostalgic, would be The Goonies.
I feel like this doesn't work for you because
Why?
you know these questions.
I
feel like I've got to come up with my own.
I'm probably, that's not really a hidden talent, but it would be obviously I can dance.
You can dance.
Perform.
Yeah, that's very true.
Dance. That's not really hidden. It's something that I started doing since I was 2.5.
Before we stop record, can you do a little tap for us?
Insert a clip of me dancing when I was young, skinny, and had hair. And guess what? Yeah. Do you want to ask me these questions?
Yeah.
All right. Well, some of them might just come off the top of my head, by the way, when I was talking to you.
What business inspires you?
I get really inspired by. See, I don't know the answers because I have a lot. Do you know what? I actually think my accountant Suzanne from Clipath. I think
She's amazing.
She is such an inspirational woman.
Yeah.
Not just in business, but also just as a person. Like you can say, hey, I need coffee and just, can we chat?
Yeah.
And she'll just be there and she'll give you homework to do. But because it's not, and this is not on the clock, this is not paying for it, this is just her caring.
Yeah.
So I think someone like her, who I've had the privilege of working for, she's her team are my accountants. We've been up against each other in awards and I've won, she's won. And I think that she's a top one.
That's a great call. Yeah, she's awesome. Top 3 tips in life or business?
Make sure that you trust people you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Continuously evolve yourself and learn.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it may be.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you are having bad days, which we all do, like understand, like acknowledge those bad days. Don't just sink them inside of you. Like speak to someone, whether it be like, for example, my best friend or my wife, like acknowledge them. Don't just sit and fester, because if they sit and fester, they're just going to just eat you.
Yeah, gets worse. If you could do anything else, I'm really interested in this. Oh, I think I know what you're going to say. If you could do anything else, what would it be?
Broadway. Oh, look, like.
Is there a Broadway musical that you would love to star in? Like, is there one standout?
Whoa. My favorite form for dance is tap dancing. Like, I taught tap dancing for 15 years.
Yeah.
So for me, it would have to be some form of tap dancing show, which there's an abundance amount of them. You know, first thing that comes in your head would be something like Singing in the Rain.
That's what I thought of.
But like, there's also a great Australian show that was created by a guy called David Atkins called Hot Shoe Shuffle, which I did an amateur production of in 2010. And it's a fantastic show. So like if that could go to New York and like be in that, like
amazing.
But that time's come and gone.
You never know. You never know.
Right. Well, that comes to the end of our chit chat.
Thanks.
I really appreciate the time, especially because you're not feeling the greatest today. So I really appreciate you coming in.
No
Would not have noticed, by the way. I guess what was a key takeaway you took from this podcast?
I probably need to do this more often is what my takeaway is. And thank you. Like, this has just been so calm and nice. I was had myself in a ball of anxiety driving here. I'm like, what am I going to say? You know, and it's just like we normally have a chat. So thanks for making it.
You said you were going to be boring.
Well, we'll see what the listeners say. But no, I think doing this more and having more of these conversations is probably my key takeaway from today.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
That's it.
We're done.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Alyce from Hive Media. Her links to her social channels will be in our bio. It was really awesome to really get to know her a little bit more. And I guess some key takeaways for me in this podcast with her, you need to have passion, because if you have passion, you will keep on growing and, you know, believe in yourself. So I want to thank you, Alyce, for coming onto our podcast today. And yeah, we look forward to more episodes on our podcast. As always, you can subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and we'll talk to you soon.